What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Commodity. I'm Fez, and today we're taking a look at English vocabulary differences, US versus UK versus Australia versus New Zealand versus South Africa. That's a mouthful. I kind of enjoy seeing the differences, and I don't know much about South Africa. I know a little bit about New Zealand. I know a little bit more about Australia, and I know a little bit about UK, and I know a whole lot about the US. And I saw this pop up actually yesterday. And so right now, obviously, I am not posting anything on Sundays, kind of letting that be my break for the week to do these, because I'm thinking about actually doing 2 a day. We'll see how that goes. So 6 days a week right now. So yeah. But guys, I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you do, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. But let's jump into this one.
But once you get into the water, they're togs.
Wow.
And it looks like you have a tiny bird in your pants.
Is that why? I always wondered why it was.
At the next robot, turn right.
I just picture a robot standing there now you can go.
What the heck are they talking about, robot?
Hello. Hi, I'm Emma. I'm from the US.
Hi, I'm Lauren from the UK.
Hi, I'm Odessa. I'm from New Zealand.
Hi, I'm Beth and I'm from Australia.
Hi, I'm Jacob and I'm from South Africa.
In Australia, we use a lot of...
It's funny how I always forget about South Africa. No excuse. Just don't ever think about it.
slang. I'm not going to do it on camera, but we swear a lot as well. It just makes
y'all
words out
do.
of different words. Odessa can understand me because she's a Kiwi and it's very similar, but I don't think you would be able to understand a lot of my slang. I don't think you
Oh,
can. So
maybe a little.
I've learned a lot. So I feel quite confident in my Aussie slang now.
Thinking the other day, Aussie is 30% American, 30% UK, and just 30% we made up.
New Zealand and Australia, we adopt similar slang, but we always do have little arguments of
Who created
what.
And then, wait, you guys say pants, not underwear, and then we say pants, and you guys say trousers.
Actually, we say pants.
You guys say pants. You say trousers.
I say trousers.
We say pants.
Old people here say trousers, really old people. Like my grandfather, he would either say breeches, which is hilarious, or if back in the 90s when I thought I was a gangster rapper, I would always sag, and he'd be like, pull up your breeches or pull up your trousers. So, but trousers are usually looked at as dress pants, as opposed to you'd have your suspenders and trousers, or something like that.
Because our pants, this is pants, but for you it's underwear, right?
We call them undies.
Undies. I call them undies too.
In the US, I call myself American. I say I'm an East Coast American.
In the UK, it may depend on which part of the UK you're from, but I would be I'm British or English specifically.
Tommy.
Yeah, pom.
Okay. Usually
what?
we would just say, depending on the region. So people from Liverpool would be a Scouser. Rather than the entire country, we will just specify a particular area.
In New Zealand, we either say you're a Kiwi or a New Zealander.
In Australia, you are an Aussie.
In South Africa, if you're in South Africa, you would just identify with your language or cultural group. But abroad, South Africans like to call themselves Saffers, which is something that I do not enjoy at all.
What's funny is I would say probably now this is based off my own knowledge, so at least Americans, I'd say probably 80% of Americans would be what? Oh, South Africa. Oh yeah, you could have just said that. And then for us as Americans, we take so much pride, because it's funny that a lot of Americans are state first versus country first, but still very proud of our country, as everybody knows our flags and all that's everywhere. But when I went to Spain, people were like, "Oh, you're a Yankee," and I'm like, "Easy there. I'm a Texan. Yankees are from the north," and they were like, "No, you're from America. You're a Yankee." I'm like, because we take so much pride in our regional locations. I don't want to be compared to the Midwest. We are Texans. We are Southerners. We're Southerners, but we're primarily Texans. So screw every other state. Texas is best. And then each state is the same way. or each major state. Like I feel like it's mostly California, Texas, New Yorkers, or maybe Boston. You know, just that whole region over there. Or obviously you got the New Englanders, and so we each take pride in the way that we just have our lives or what we have in our states and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really, I think it's really different than a lot of places. Maybe it has a lot to do with the size of the country.
I just don't like the way it sounds. I just prefer to call myself South African.
So yeah, in the US we call it McDonald's.
I was always told that in America you call it Mickey D's. Like that was the nickname for McDonald's.
And I thought it was McDick's.
McDick's. I've never heard that.
Last time.
No, I guess I just say like, I'm gonna go to McDonald's. In the US, the McDonald's, it can.
Where in America is she from that they only say McDonald's? In fact, I want to say the only time I say McDonald's is in a professional setting. Like if I'm talking to a customer, I'm not going to say like, yeah, we go take the kids over to Mickey D's. Actually, I have. Take that back. I do that a lot. I don't think I ever call it McDonald's except for maybe talking to my parents. But even then, I would still call it Mickey D's, and everybody knows what it's about. See, I don't know where she's from. I'm already getting like questionable like reaction. She must be from like Ohio or something weird, like states that are made fun of all the time. Florida, maybe, I don't know. But everybody in the country says Mickey D's besides her.
Can sometimes be a bit like dodgy, a little bit sometimes, depending what part of the US you're in. But yeah, I just say, I'm gonna go to McDonald's.
In the UK, we would say Mackie D's. Where
Mackie.
I'm from, we say Mackies. Or we would say like McDonald's rather than McDonald's.
That makes sense because you get the Big Mac. Mickey D's, I'm like, you get a Big Mick? No. But Mackie D's totally makes sense.
No,
in
it
New
doesn't.
Zealand, we say Macca's.
Yeah, in Australia we also call it Macca's. Like we have signs changed for it to just be Macca's.
What? Really? That's pretty cool.
That is cool. I've heard that
Yeah,
part.
we also say McDonald's or McD's.
MacD's.
Mac, that makes,
Mac
Big
D's,
Mac
yeah.
makes sense, yeah.
But realistically, it's Mick, MC. So Mickey D's actually makes more sense. Let's be honest. Because it's actually what it is. But at the same time, I don't care. It's slang. Who cares? Words are made up. Spanish words are funny. German words are funny. American words, or American, listen to me. I know y'all are going to kill me over saying that. English words are funny. I can't believe I said that. Just, I've never had like this weird sense of respect the language type thing. All words are made up. Every word in the entire world did not exist until a human decided that's what the word is. If it's funny sounding, funny looking, it's a joke. Just laugh at it. I mean, we've got a lot of Indian influence in a lot of the names that we have over here. Obviously, we have a lot of the British city names and stuff like that up in the Northeast. But besides that, like, I mean, the Midwest, the West, the Southwest are very, very Indian-inspired names, like Sioux Falls, because it's spelled like SOUX Falls. I'm like, I don't know, but it was the Sioux tribe. So, yeah. I'm going to call those, I'll just call those shoes. Maybe sneakers. I'd call those sneakers because you wouldn't run in those. I guess you could play tennis in them. You wouldn't want to play basketball. You'd hurt your foot. Those are so flat-footed. Or you could skate in those. You could skateboard in those.
In the US, we call them sneakers. Like, oh, I want to get a pair of sneakers. Like, oh, nice sneakers. Sometimes people also say, like, oh, nice kicks you got there. Like, that's like slang. Like, oh, nice kicks.
In the UK, we call them trainers.
Okay, so as a Kiwi, we literally
See, I feel like those you don't train in. Like, if you're, I mean, you could do like, those would actually be really good to work out in. But if you're like actually training for a sport, it would not be a great option. But actually working out because they are flat bottom, those would be fantastic.
it depends on the shoe, but we say sneakers, we also say runners, we can also say trainers depending on the shoe.
Yeah, in Australia, those are 100% runners.
In South Africa, we're a little bit similar to New Zealand. We can call them sneakers or tekkies.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Hello?
One eternity later.
All right, back to this. Let's go back a little bit.
A little bit similar to New Zealand. We can call them sneakers or tekkies.
Techies.
Tekkies.
Techie.
So cute.
No idea where it comes from. When you're like a kid, you're like, I want to get some new tekkies. You know? It's quite a cute word.
His accent is actually pretty cool. I like his accent a lot. It's completely different from everybody else's, and it's got more like, and I think it's because of the languages, how there's so many languages spoken in South Africa. So he probably picks up a lot of those different dialects but you know how they have accents, and he kind of picks it all up. So his accent is really, really cool. I dig it. Tackies. I like that too. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard someone say trainers, they said like, oh, I've got to go get my trainers. I thought, you have like personal trainers? Like what?
I feel like we're more specific to the actual swimwear. So I would call these board shorts. Obviously, like if I'm just generalizing, hey, let me get my suit on. I mean, unless you're like, if you're going to go somewhere, you know, based off of the context of what you're talking about. So if and same for a woman, no matter what they're wearing, whether it's a bikini or a one piece or a string bikini or whatever the heck they're wearing, or if a guy's wearing Speedos, you know, I think the Aussies call them budgie smugglers, which was what they were talking about or something like that. We call them just Speedo. We just generalize, even if it's not Speedo brand, it's just Speedos. Then you have like just regular shorts, and then they have different names for it, but those are most commonly board shorts that's on here. But as a whole, we just call them swimsuits. I think that's right. But if I were like, hey, what kind of swimsuit? Oh, it's a one piece. Oh, I got board shorts or whatever, you know.
We say like swimsuit, actually like for...
Actually, hold on. All right, so it's been about 100 degrees here in Texas, so we're well into our swimming weather. So this is what I wore the other day. These are kind of a cross between your regular swim trunks and board shorts, but these would be just considered trunks because they're much shorter, whereas these, just for reference, they're good maybe not half a foot, but like a good 4 inches longer. So these, my Corona shorts, I think they're Corona. Yeah, they say Corona on the pocket. These would be board shorts. And then I used to swim triathlons, and these are they're not as bad as Speedos. They're just really good for sliding through the water. TYR. These are phenomenal. They feel so good. Especially when you're trying to swim fast. I've had these forever. But I don't even know what I would call these. All honesty. I have no idea what I would call those. But anyways, I almost fell. Back to the video. Let me go back a little bit.
We say like swimsuit, actually like for the woman, like one piece, bikini, swimming trunks for the guys, Speedo.
Yeah. The woman, like the full thing is a swimming costume.
Which is where cozy comes from.
Yeah, we call it swimming cozy.
In New Zealand, we call it togs. The men's ones, we call them boardies.
In Australia, we also say togs, but this does also depend on which state you're from. So I would say togs and boardies, but if you're from like Queensland, you probably say bathers or cozies.
Bathers. Bathing suit. Yeah, that makes sense. And cozies based off of costumes. Costume seems like a stretch because do y'all not celebrate Halloween and call those costumes? Sounds like a stretch for costume. Like, so when you get ready for work, Do you dress in professional costumes? That actually sounds awesome. I kind of like that.
Yeah, in South Africa, I guess kind of a generic umbrella term, you can just say like swimming costume. But then if it's like the girls want for swimming, like swimming costume and speedos for men. And then when you go to the beach, girls usually wear a bikini, boys will wear some board shorts. Shorts, I guess, for like standing on your board.
I really just heard.
I never understood why they're called board shorts. Like, is it because it's like that style, like for surfing or whatever? Because obviously, you know, you could do it in other things. Like if you really wanted to wear them skiing, you technically could. You just wouldn't have that same range of motion.
Of like swimming costume or cozy before. I haven't heard about togs. I haven't heard about any. That's a first for me.
There's actually a funny New Zealand commercial, and it's a guy in togs, and it's when it's acceptable to be undies, so underwear to togs, and it's this guy walking out to the ocean. It's undies, togs, and it's just kind of what I think, yeah, because like if you wear speedos, I'm guessing those are called undies, but once you get into the water, they're togs.
Wow.
So the transition.
That's interesting.
We also have a bit of a rude name for speedos because you know they look like underwear. We call them budgie smugglers.
Budgie.
Oh, I've heard this. Yeah.
So
I like that
A few
one.
prime ministers ago, our Prime Minister Tony Abbott wore some budgie smugglers to the beach, but it's because it looks like you have a tiny bird in your pants.
What'd I do?
Full thing is a swim.
Yeah, in South Africa, I guess kind of a bikini, boys will wear.
Those are called undies, but once
Oh, I've heard this.
So a few prime ministers ago, our Prime Minister Tony Abbott wore
light, because we're lazy.
in Australia
Traffic lights, stop light.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, stop here.
because it looks like you have a tiny bird in your pants.
That's a weird reference, but I see it at the same. Yeah. I see it. That's so great. That is so great. I love that. I wish we would adopt that. You don't see it often enough here, but I'm gonna start calling him that.
Is that why? I always wondered why it was.
I love it. I'm
a tiny
obsessed.
bird in your pants.
That's a little humiliating too. I'd call that a light, a stoplight, a red light. It's so funny because we never talk about the other colors. It's always the red light. Like if we're giving direction, okay, at the next light, take a right, or you can say at the next stoplight, take a right. At the next traffic light, take a right. So we use them all synonymously, yeah. Traffic light, red light, and just light, whichever works.
In the U.S., we say traffic light, stoplight.
Oh, stoplight too.
At the stoplight, stop at the traffic
Red light,
In the
stoplight.
UK, we also say traffic light.
Traffic light or just the light, because
Yeah.
we're lazy.
We say
in Australia,
light.
we say the traffic light as well.
In South Africa, we say robot. It's one of those
That's
things
what they were talking
every
about.
single person from another country is always so confused about it. I don't even know where it comes from. Maybe it was the first kind of automatic kind of functioning machine that we had in the country. But so you can say, like, at the next robot, turn right.
I just picture like a robot standing there, like, now you can go.
That is crazy interesting. Robot for traffic light. That's really intriguing. I'm curious of where that origin comes from. All right, so I call this candy as a whole, or sweets. You can call them sweets, candies. Then the one with the stem, you call it a sucker or a lollipop. If it's a hard candy that you're not just going to put in your mouth and start chewing, you call it a hard candy. And we make fun of those because it's like every grandma has them in their purse. And then if it's gummy, we just call them gummies, or like, especially in the pot world where they make the THC ones, they're definitely called gummies. But I think that's generally what we call them: sweets, candy, lollipops, lollies, suckers, and then either hard candy, gummies, and I'm sure there's others out there, but that's pretty much what we call it. Let's see what she says.
Actually, in
I don't
the
have
US,
much
it
faith
can
in this
depend
chick.
where you are. Generally, we say candy, although people around Ohio, they'll sometimes say like, "Oh, I'm gonna
From
go buy
Ohio.
some suckers," and that's a lollipop.
Oh, sucker. Yeah. Did I say
I
that?
got a couple of suckers. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I said sucker.
But we generally say candy. Yeah.
In the UK, we would call them sweets,
Yeah.
or the ones on the sticks are lollipops.
In New Zealand, we call them lollies.
In Australia, we call them lollies. It doesn't matter if it's like a hard candy or like a.
Oh, so
soft, like,
all
jelly,
candy is
everything
lollies.
just lollies.
In South
Interesting.
Africa, it's exactly the same. You just call it sweets. The ones on the sticks, they're lollipops.
Yep.
Yeah, same. We call them lollipops on the stick. Everything else is candy.
So can a marshmallow be a lolly?
We just call it a
Yeah,
marshmallow.
it's like gummy bears, like rock candy, all of that, like lollipops. It all counts as lollies.
And
We joke. Usually, maybe it's more my generation that grew up with the movie called The Sandlot, where it was about a bunch of boys that played backyard baseball. Like every kid in the 90s, and I don't mean every, but you know, a bunch of kids in the 90s grew up playing backyard baseball. Like we would set up plates with like hats and stuff, and then we'd hit the ball. But the movie was like there's a part where they're camping out in a treehouse, and he asked one of the characters named Smalls, and he's like, do you want a s'more? And he was like, some more what? You know, that whole exchange. He's like, no, a s'more. And he was like, first you take the gram. So he kind of slanged it all up. So now everybody that I know of my age call it, you take the gram, then you take the chocolate, then you take the mallow, and then you take another gram. Well, obviously you melt the mallow. But so now I like me and a lot of people, we call them mallows just because of that movie. But most of the like if I'm talking to my kids, I'm like, get a marshmallow, or they want marshmallows. But amongst my friends, we call them mallows. And I think a lot of people do that just for funsies.
And we all say chocolates.
Yeah, chocolate is different. Yeah.
Chocolates.
Yeah, in the US,
We call it corn on the cob. Or if it's just like the picture that's up there, I would call that actually corn off the cob, because it's basically the exact same granules just off the cob, and you just cook it. Then you have cream corn. You got to be specific with your corns.
yes, we call it corn on the cob. Let's have some like cream corn. Yeah.
In the UK, well, I would say corn, like corn on the cob, but maybe some more posh people may say maize, or people who come from like farming kind of areas, they may call it maize.
So maize is what the natives here called it. I wonder if that's one of the vegetables. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is one of the vegetables that actually was native to the United States, much like potatoes. Potatoes were native to the U.S. and were brought over back to the U.K. So I wonder if that's where they picked up that name. Let me see here. I'm really curious about that. Where does corn originate? Oh, even better. Yeah, it's so humans first started selectively breeding corn 9,000 years ago in Mexico. So yes, my people. And in Spanish, maize or corn, or however you want to say it, is maize. So, and then and obviously before 9,000 years ago was well before Spanish was a thing, or at least current day Spanish. And so this was probably the natives were calling it maize or maize or some form of that. And whenever we were colonized in the 1500s, really, originally, all the way up until the 1700s, when they took it back, they probably called it that. That's really cool. Sorry, I nerd out when I heard that. I'm like, wait, we grew up being taught that Native Americans called corn maize or some form of that. So that's really, really cool. I like the fact that y'all are actually carrying on the tradition in the UK. We'll see what the other countries call it. where we don't, unless we're talking about Native Americans or even down in Spanish. Because, whenever I ask for tortillas de maize, whenever I go order, that's corn tortillas or flour, and I don't ever do flour. That's for white people, flour tortillas. Psh.
I only know it as corn, to be honest.
Yeah, in Australia, we say corn or corn cob. Like, we don't say corn on the cob, it's a corn cob.
You love to shorten everything.
Yeah.
Like, my mom would make dinner and we're like, yeah, we got some corn cobs. And...
Yeah, I think for the most part in South Africa, we just call it mielies. If you're gonna have like corn on the cob, we call that mielies. If it's kind of like in flour form, we would call it maize meal. Corn would be more associated with popcorn. I think it's an Afrikaans word. That's just been kind of adopted because there are so many languages, like it's all just mixing together.
Yeah.
But that's the one that stuck, mielies.
Yeah, because I know for a lot of African countries that they do mill down the corn so that it can last a lot longer and stuff like that. But that's really, really, really interesting. Now, corn cob, if I were to say corn cob, I believe that would be referencing the corn on the cob minus the corn. It's just the cob, which I think they use for like, some people use like in schools to do like presentations so that they're not carrying around actual food. So we'd call that the corn cob, even if there's no corn on it. Now, if you have food, it's corn on the cob for us. So just a little bit about us.
So fancy.
That's really cool.
It sounds like the
Such a
opposite of
basic
fancy.
thing.
Really?
Yeah.
And we're so
Mealies
different.
on the cob.
Mielies on the cob.
There you go. Thumbs up, I guess it'd be like, it depends on the situation, really. So I'm at the dealership, I'm backing out a car so I don't, from the showroom to show a customer it if that's the one that they want. And I'll say, hey, am I clear? And they'll go like this. That just means you're good. So it could literally be like, good job, great job, proud of you, mostly just positive things. But if I didn't say anything and I said, just trying to do something and I just go like that, it's like, we're all good. We're good to go or something like that. So it's a very open form of communication from a distance or in person, but usually you have some context. You're like, how'd he do? Oh man, he did great. So
In the US, we would say that's great, that's good, that's awesome.
In the UK, we would say that's great, that's fabulous,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
In New Zealand, we say choice. That's choice.
I've heard that. That is
Or,
dope.
mean
I like that.
as, good as.
In Australia, I'd say like, that's nice, like nice.
Noise.
Nice.
Noise.
South
Yeah.
Africa, like I guess we use some words that are unique to South Africa would be like kif.
Give?
Kif. Have you heard kif before?
No.
Or like lekker?
No.
Lekker.
Lekker?
That reminds me of a car.
Lekker car.
Sometimes in Australia, we do use this for like, I'm okay. Like, I'm
Yeah,
suffering,
same
but
thing.
I'm okay. It's just kind of general, like, everything's all good.
It's like, you good?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
Just a
In
general
Māori,
form.
So in the indigenous language of New Zealand, you can also say ka pai, which means very good. And we can say, oh, ka pai.
Kapai.
Is that the same thing as kampai from like, I think Japan? Kampai. Let me know if you know.
Yeah.
The most impressive, 100% South African. I love their uniqueness and their actual, it seems like, and he even mentioned it, he took, or not him, but they've taken languages from South Africa. Because, I mean, yes, English is their primary language as a whole, but they have a lot of other influence from different types of tribes that live there. And they've kind of just collectively create. And this goes back to my statement before that I've made. Yes, English started in England. However, Australian is a language now, in my personal opinion, because there's words that none of us have ever heard besides Aussies. Same for even New Zealanders. Even the UK has new words that they've created over the time. The United States, even Canada, has done their own. I mean, Canada has different language than the United States. And definitely, I think the most extreme in this situation is South Africa. Let me know if you agree. Like I said, yes, you created a language, but right now, the world that we live in, we're almost complete. Like, languages connect, but at the same time, we're so different at the same time because we live all so far apart that things have just changed. And eventually, give it 1,000 years, we might not be able to understand each other at all. And then we will have American language. We will have the UK English. We will have a New Zealand and an Aussie and a South African language. That would be really cool. But hopefully we can always stay connected in some way. I really, really dig this.
I'm going to say the same with robot.
Oh, robot, for sure.
Doing the robot.
That was the best one.
I always think it's very entertaining to see like clothing ones, just how different it is between countries. So like the swimming clothes and also like runners, the different types of runners, names and stuff like that.
I also really found budgie smugglers funny.
Yes.
Like, it's something that I've heard before, but it's also now being like used in South Africa more and more often. Yeah, yeah. Well done, Australia.
Yes.
We like to make everything a bit rude.
I like her. She's so cute. Today was pretty good. I sold a car.
And I finally got to find out the meaning behind budgie smugglers. So I will make sure I inform everybody in the UK about the meaning behind that.
And I feel like I can now like use some of these as well in my own vocabulary.
Yeah.
So like learning new stuff.
Maybe not like fluently, but we're definitely learning. But yeah, today was so much fun.
It's fun to see like which words we share, which are similar and which can be easily understood by other cultures because they're maybe so close. It's really funny. You guys are hilarious. So today we compared some English words.
So if you liked the video, please leave a like.
That was really, really cool. I actually liked that a lot. I was very entertained learning about this stuff. This chick for America, full of shit. Not a single American does not know what Mickey D's is. I don't know where she lives to not know Mickey D's. I know people from at least one person from all 50 states, if not more than that. There are some states that are so small, like Rhode Island. I've met one person from there because the size of their state makes probably I haven't ever seen it overlapped or anything like that, but probably makes New Zealand look huge. I mean, Rhode Island, Connecticut, they're both really, really small states, But anyways, guys, tell me what you think. I know I talked a lot in this one because I really was kind of wanting to put my own 2 cents in for sure. Because I feel like she was not a good representation for the country. I could literally take the camera out and go to, I bet you out of 100 American citizens and 50 Mexicans that are not citizens that are just here, I bet you all of them will be like, oh yeah, Mickey D's. I know exactly what that is. I almost want to call my dad from Mexico with a PhD that's super nerdy and reedy and hates using slang or anything like that. If he talks about something, he says the words properly. I'd love to see if he kind of knows. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and the bell notification. And until next time, bye.